After finishing the mission, I refused to leave this world. I married Pei Huai. 5 years into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant. He cried tears of joy. Although he's been so reserved, but he lost his composure twice, both times because everyone in the capital knows he loves me more than life itself. But I know he's been keeping a mistress. The child is already 3 years old. This time, the system asked me if I wanted to leave now that the mission was complete. I smiled with relief.
Yes.
Lord Pei, Lady P is with child. When the physician said those words, Pei Hui's eyes instantly turned red. He gripped my hand tight, so happy he couldn't speak. Nothing like the Lord Pei, who rules the court without mercy. Now, we finally have a child of our own. Yes, we've been married 5 years now. Our hope for a child grew stronger. But the more we hoped, the longer we waited. He's the only son of the household, having an heir is critical. Yet because I said I wanted one man for one lifetime, he refused to take a concubine. He said he only loves me. Even without a child, he'd want to spend his life with me. How could I not be moved by such devotion? I've always been delicate, but over these 5 years, I drank so much bitter medicine, took so many needles, tried so many folk remedies. It hurt, it was bitter. But I knew it was all worth it. Now we finally have a child. Thinking back, I felt so sad. Tears fell without control. He wiped my tears, so gentle. Like I was his most precious treasure that might shatter at a touch. I stared into his eyes, full of devotion, and sobbed. I know his love isn't fake. He really does love me. But he can also hide things from me, set up another household, even have a child with that woman. 3 years old. He lied to me for 3 whole years. 02. Everyone in the capital knows Lord Pei loves his wife like his own life. He swore never to take a concubine. No one could persuade him otherwise. That year, the emperor saw Pei Huai had no heir, so he gave him several beauties. When I heard the news, I was angry and upset, but you can't refuse an imperial gift, so I had the servants prepare rooms. But by noon, he came back alone. He'd taken 15 lashes on his back. He refused the gift. The emperor got angry and beat him. I cried from heart touch, but he smiled at me like he'd won a prize. Now, you're all I need. He looked so handsome when he smiled. His eyes sparkled like stars. In that moment, all I heard was my heart racing. Once he was promoted, his work got really busy. But he'd still bring me pear blossom cakes I love when he came home. When he'd draw my eyebrows in the morning, worried I'd be bored at home, he'd set aside his status. He'd ever swing with his own hands, then worried I'd catch cold playing, he'd remind the servants to bring me warm clothes. Each and everything kept telling me. He loved me so much. How could it be fake? I murmured, "System, tell me, does he love me or not?" The system didn't respond. It went into sleep mode after I refused to leave this world. But I think even if it were awake, it probably couldn't analyze how complicated human feelings are. 我息肉. Maybe from too much stress, my morning sickness. I lost 10 pounds in just 2 weeks. Even good-tempered Pei Huai lost his cool with the servants and physicians. Later, he somehow learned the Empress Dowager had a matron who knew how to help with morning sickness, so he swallowed his pride and begged the Empress Dowager. She laughed at him for being whipped. But she lent him the matron. He blushed, but admitted it and shamelessly took the matron with him. The palace ladies there didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In no time, the story spread everywhere. Even when my mother came to visit, she laughed and said I was so lucky to have Pei Huai, such a wonderful husband who loves me so much. The hippie pavilion just made new hibiscus hot and pastries. They're light and refreshing. You'll love them. He carefully set the pastries in front of me, his eyes smiling. But I only took one bite and put it down. I said, "Pei Lang, the apricot blossoms are out. Will you take me to Fragrant Mountain tomorrow?" His smile froze for a second. Then he said casually, "The mountain paths are slippery. You just got pregnant. You shouldn't be traveling around. Now, if you want to see apricot blossoms, I'll take you to the apricot pavilion instead. You can have a cup of your favorite apricot wine." I stared at him, trying to find some guilty crack in his expression. But I couldn't find any. It seemed like he really was just worried about my health when he said that. "Now, don't be upset. When the weather's nice, your husband will take you to Fragrant Mountain every day, okay?" He pulled me into his arms. His warm breath brushed my ear, carrying that familiar sandalwood scent. But I caught a faint trace of apricot blossom fragrance. Pei Huai went to Fragrant Mountain today. That's where he keeps his mistress. He keeps that woman pampered at Fragrant Mountain Manor. When spring comes, but blossoms bloom on the branches, the whole courtyard is wrapped in apricot fragrance. So beautiful. Not like me. I'm a transmigrator with no ambition. Content to be trapped in these 4 walls, unable to move. 0. 2 weeks later, the princess invited me to an apricot blossom banquet she was hosting. She's always been good to me, so I agreed. As I was about to get in the carriage, Pei Huai held my hand, looking worried. "Now, I still haven't finished with that case. I can't go with you today. Please be very careful." Then, he kept reminding my maid over and over to watch the temperature. To bring tea and water. Every little detail had to be confirmed before he felt okay. My maid Kui Shu said with some envy, "The Lord really loves you, my lady. There's no other man in this whole capital as accomplished and caring as he is." Before she finished, someone nearby tugged at her sleeve. Seeing my face turn dark, she quickly shut up. I leaned back in the carriage and closed my eyes. Good husband. Those 3 words used to make me so proud. Now, hearing them just feels bitterly ironic. Actually, I lied to Pei Huai. I didn't come to Fragrant Mountain for the banquet. I wanted to see that woman. I stood under the apricot tree, looking at the sign in the distance. Pavilion. Precious as jade. Looks like Pei Huai really cares about her. My heart twisted sharply. It felt like 1,000 needles slicing through, bloody and raw. Just then, a familiar figure knocked on the door. It was Pei Huai. I've known him for decades. No one knows him better than I do. Then a woman opened the door. When she looked up, she showed a stunning face. She smiled softly and hooked her arm through Pei Huai. Pei Huai followed her pull and walked inside. From far away, I thought I heard him call out softly, Yao Nian. His voice low and rough, full of desire. She stirred his passion. Zero. By the time I got home, Pei Huai wasn't back yet. I looked out at the swing and saw all the flowers on the vines had withered. The beauty was gone, only devastation remained. Just like my heart. Then Pei Huai walked in. Niao, did you have fun today? Your husband bought you apricot wine. You'll have some tonight. He took my hand and led me to the stone table. I sat down obediently, but my eyes fixed on his neck. On his pale skin, 2 red marks. Like a boast, like a count. I reached up and lightly touched the red mark. My fingertip was ice cold, raising goosebumps. He smiled and reached for my hand, but I suddenly spoke. Pei Huai, what's that on your neck? He felt a flash of panic crossed his face. He explained. Probably just a bug bite. I cut him off. It's Sprin. Then he said, maybe I had an allergic reaction. I accidentally ate some fish today. Didn't think anything of it, so I didn't tell you. As he spoke, he knelt on one knee in front of me and gripped my hand hard, like he was trying to prove he's trustworthy. But I'll never believe him again. I stared into his beautiful eyes and smiled faintly. Pei Huai, you said you'd be with me for one lifetime. And you said you'd never lie to me. Do those promises still count? He looked at my face as if sensing something, and pulled me into his arms in a panic, his hands trembling. So tight. He whispered in my ear over and over, Niao, I love you. I only love you. See, Pei Huai never lies. So he only says he loves me, but he won't answer any of my questions. He lied to me. I know. Now I even doubt his love. All these years together, was it all fake? I need to know. 0. Pei Huai kissed my cheek when he got up. The maids not to disturb me, then left. I listened to him leave, then slowly got up and walked to his study. He never guards against me, so I quickly found a wooden box. Made of pure wood. My courtesy name was carved on it. Miao. I made this myself and gave it to Pei Huai for his coming-of-age ceremony. Back then, seeing the cuts on my hands, his eyes turned red with worry. With me, he was never the composed Lord Pei. He was a crybaby who'd pout and act cute. Niao, I'll treasure this box forever. And keep my most precious things in it. After we married, I looked inside once and found it full of my portraits. He shamelessly said I was his most precious treasure. I blushed so hard, but my heart was so happy. But now I found another portrait. A woman in red, stunningly beautiful, sitting beside a little boy who looked just like young Pei Huai. In the corner 4 words were written. Most precious treasure. My heart clenched, my hand squeezed hard without thinking. I tore a corner of the portrait. Just then, a familiar voice came from behind. Niao, what are you doing here? I should probably throw the portrait in his face and demand to know who she is. But I didn't. I silently put the portrait back inside, closed the box, and walked toward him. I smiled lightly, just like before. I said, nothing, just looking around. Looking at how the man I've treasured for decades cherishes another woman. Love is love. Not loving is not loving. If Pei Huai told me he fell in love with another woman, I'd be hurt and sad, but I wouldn't cling to him. But he shouldn't have lied. Late that night, Pei Huai was asleep, his hands still gently patting my back, tenderly soothing me. I opened my eyes. I traced his features in the air. So handsome. He's the same person as young Master Pei from before. But he changed. I know. My voice was so soft, full of sorrow. Pei Huai, you promised you'd never betray me. You lied. 07. I first met Pei Huai my second year after transmigration. My starter mission was simple. I was new here. Even though I was loved, I was terrified. One wrong move and my identity would be exposed. And this era that believes in ghosts and spirits would burn me alive as a demon. My parents loved me, but they valued my beautiful, talented older sister more. My sister loved me, but she valued the power that could elevate her more. So I was always careful. I'd say less if I could. Miss Ming, who always had a grudge against my sister, kept mocking her, saying she wasn't worthy of being crown princess. I couldn't take it and argued with her, but she pushed me into the pond. That time, I really thought I was going to die. But I didn't. Pei Huai saved me. He wrapped his fox fur around me and made that young lady so mad with just a few words. After she left, he turned to look at me, his eyes curved in a smile. Miss Shen, are you okay? He smiled so beautifully, more stunning than the peach. In that moment, my heart quietly stirred. He was young Lord Pei, the Empress's own nephew, strikingly handsome. Status was beyond words. Countless young ladies in the capital secretly admired him. I was only 12 then, just coming of age. Falling for him wasn't unusual, but it was just a crush. More than Pei Huai, I wanted to go home. At most, before leaving, I wanted to steal a few more glances at him. Watch him spar with my brother at the training ground, so spirited and bold. Watch him discuss court politics with my older sister, sometimes frowning, smiling softly. But no matter what, he was undeniably gorgeous. That day, I ran right into Pei Huai as he was leaving. I quickly bowed. But he reached out, straightened my hairpin, and chuckled. Miss, Shen is quite different from your siblings. Very adorable. I looked up at him. Just one glance and my face turned red. The sun was bright that day, but it couldn't match the warmth in his eyes. I asked myself, was it really just a crush? No. I fell in love with him. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. When I was 16, Pei Huai came to propose. Miss Shen, I've admired you for so long. I only wish to be with you forever, never apart. I want to stay by your side, grow old together. Will you marry me? He promised me one life, one partner. Promised to love and cherish me forever. How could I bear to refuse? So on the day my sister became empress, the system asked if my mission was complete. Would I leave? I refused. It didn't hesitate for a second. The system seemed to expect my decision. It just sighed softly. Obsession can still be forgiven, but a woman's obsession cannot be spoken of. Back then, I just felt defiant. Never thought those words would come true. I never liked crowded, chaotic places. I avoided gatherings of the capital's ladies whenever I could. And Jie saw I was gloomy. The baby was stable now, so she coaxed me to try the new dishes at Fanti restaurant. Maybe it was just bad luck. I sat by the window, looked down, and saw Pei Huai. The carriage curtain lifted. A lively child jumped down first, calling out, "Daddy." Pei Huai smiled and scooped him up. Didn't mind at all that the child's shoes dirtied his robe. He had to imagine this was a man who changed his whole outfit after being kicked at the training grounds. Then a woman stepped down, watching the scene with tender eyes. They looked like a real family. And I was just a thief who briefly stole Pei Huai away. My heart clenched sharply. Madam, are you alright, miss? Jie's anxious call snapped me back. I turned to her and saw her face covered in tears. Miss, don't cry. Please don't cry. Cry? Why would I cry? I didn't do anything wrong. Why would I cry? But I touched my cheek. My fingertips felt ice cold. Miss, let's go back to the Shen family. Let's tell the old madam. I refused without a second's hesitation. Sister may be empress, but she's surrounded by enemies. Mother's already overworked. I can't burden her with my problems now. Her health can't take it. This is my issue. This is the path I chose. I'll decide how to walk it. I watched the three of them leave, my eyes lost. I need to think. I need to really think this through. Back at the manor, I sent someone to investigate that woman, Yang Nian. I had to understand what kind of woman was worth it to Pei Huai. To betray his vows. To deceive me for all these years. The Shen family guards worked fast, in less than 3 days. I knew every detail of their relationship. Turns out this woman was Pei Huai's cousin, Zhao Yao. 4 years ago, old Madam Pei saw I hadn't gotten pregnant, so she brought Yang from the countryside. While I was at the palace visiting my sister, she drugged Pei Huai, and they became intimate. The next day he woke up and nearly killed Yao Niang with his sword. But old Madam Pei begged and threatened to kill herself. So he lowered his sword. Old Madam Pei wanted to give her status, but Pei Huai wouldn't allow it. Old Man Pei didn't dare push him foot. She just settled Yao Niang in Fragment Mountain. Pei Huai didn't refuse. Yao Niang had a child. Pei Huai treated her coldly. But he visited the child. Once, twice, 3 times, right up to now. Zhi said, Miss, the young lord was set up. Even she sounded unconvinced saying it. He's a seasoned warrior. He has some resistance to poison. How could he fall for an aphrodisiac? Besides, the first time was an accident. What about the next 3 years? Were those all accidents too? I laughed softly and threw the letter into the fire. In an instant, white paper caught flame, leaving only ashes. He just wanted to. Maybe he wanted a child. Maybe that woman was truly stunning. He just went along with it. Pei Huai returned to the manor when it was dark. He'd been doing this for days. Probably that woman clung to him, wouldn't let him go. Otherwise the scent of her perfume on him wouldn't keep getting stronger. He first called Jir to ask about my meals and daily routine. He was young, couldn't hide her feelings. Her attitude was ice cold. He frowned, puzzled, but said nothing, and dismissed her. Watching this just made my heart ache. A servant was so rude to him, yet he held back his anger. Just because she was my maid, he didn't want to hurt my pride. At night, he carefully applied balm. For me, his voice gentle. You've seemed unhappy lately. Tomorrow, I'll take you to Fragment Mountain to clear your mind. I looked down at him, candlelight fell on his face. It flickered, but his eyes were so clear and bright. Just like all those evenings over the years. I'd lean against him, eyes half closed. He'd gently pat my back, coaxing me while talking about his day. His voice low and soothing. Sometimes he'd make me laugh, until I slowly drifted off. He'd kiss my cheek, and say, I love you. Back then, I thought those days were ordinary. But I can never go back to that kind of ordinary. I wanted to smile, but felt so exhausted. Exhausted in the heart that had beaten for him 1,000 times. It all slowed down. No need, the flowers are past their bloom, the apricot blossoms have faded. Going there would be pointless. And then, the system that had been dormant suddenly spoke. Host, mission complete detected. You may leave at any time. What happens to this body if I leave? The original host. My fingers trembled at those words. Pei Huai seemed to sense something. He held me tighter. Don't leave me. I love you. I'd always been soft toward Pei Huai. But this time I wanted to see. If I died, would Pei Huai regret betraying and deceiving me? My next trip to Fragrant Mountain was when I was 6 months pregnant. Before the Hall of Gods and Buddhas, I looked so small. I knelt devoutly and kowtowed 3 times. First for my child, wishing him joy and peace in this life. Second for the Shen family, wishing prosperity and growth. Third for Pei Huai, wishing him a long life and that he'd never forget me. Down, it suddenly started pouring. The path got even more slippery. So we took shelter in the pavilion on Fragrant Mountain. As I reached the door, I looked up. Zhenyu, pavilion. Those 3 words. Only the code sign Fragrant Mountain Pavilion remained. Not surprising though. Huai had already placed his treasures elsewhere. What point was there in keeping Zhenyu Pavilion? I stood on the porch, looking up at the peach tree in the courtyard. The first time I saw it, it didn't have all these lush green leaves. Suddenly, my eyes locked on a spot of red. It was a sachet. Probably left behind in their rush. Jir brought it to me. I opened it. Inside was a note. May you stay well. May we be together forever. I wish the pen handwriting was delicate. Yao Ning must have written it. The bottom handwriting I knew well. It was Pei Hui's. I stared at it for a long time before slowly putting it back. I gave the sachet to Jir. Keep it safe. We'll return all of this to Pei Huai one day. Huh. Turns out someone really can treat me so well, while hoping to be with another woman forever. My eyes stung fiercely at that moment, but not a single tear would fall. I just sighed softly, so softly. A sigh for life's song. A sigh for flowers blooming and fading. The rain lasted a long time. It didn't let up until dusk, and only briefly. Jir had already prepared the room, planning to rest there for the night. But I flatly refused. Pei Huai and Yao Niang had been together here countless times. Just the thought made me sick. This place is too filthy. Jir understood. She held my icy hands with pity. She had them prepare the carriage and light the brazier. Terrified I catch cold. I leaned against the furs, staring blankly at the book of songs in my hands. Obsession can still be forgiven, but a woman's obsession cannot be spoken of. It glowed with me, but now you fill me with resentment. Rivers have banks. Marshes have shore. We were young, laughing and happy. You made solemn vows, never thinking you'd betray them. Now I know better. It's over. I recited it softly, over and over, until my face was covered in tears and I couldn't speak. I truly believed I wouldn't become the tragic woman from the book of songs. But I couldn't escape this fate. I covered my face and sobbed, hiding my cries in the sound of rain. But I wasn't crying for Pei Huai. I cried for myself. I cried because I couldn't keep walking with him but couldn't let go either. I cried for being stuck. I cried for being weak and scared. Cried because the love I got vanished so fast. Just then, the horse suddenly cried out. An arrow carried by the wind pierced through the carriage window. It stopped just inches from me. Jir went pale, and quickly helped me out of the carriage. The guards were being taken down one by men in black. The smell of blood mixed with rain. I gagged instinctively. My steps slowed. An arrow shot straight toward me. My legs gave out. I closed my eyes by instinct. I started. The arrow pierced flesh. Blood splattered on my face. I opened my eyes. My whole body shook. Pei Huai. He tried to smile to reassure me, but the next second, he collapsed into my arms. Blood poured from his wound. The last moment before he passed out, he whispered in my ear. Don't be scared. He told me not to be scared, but I was terrified. I was scared if he lived, he'd keep hurting me. But I was more scared if he died, I'd owe him forever. I hate him. Hate that he doesn't love me anymore. Yet he puts on this act of devotion, leaving me alone to struggle and suffer. Doubting myself over and over. Pei Huai, why did you risk your life to save me? If I died, you could be with her, with your child, forever. Wouldn't that be perfect? Isn't that what you wanted? Tears fell, one by one, onto his shoulder. Damn it. Why? I hate you so much. I really do. Hate you. An arrow through the chest. You obviously know small. It was extremely dangerous. Old Madame Pei rushed over. Seeing Pei He covered in blood, she nearly fainted from panic, but still blamed me for not staying home. Always thinking about running around outside. I had no energy to argue with her. But when I looked up, I saw a woman behind her. Zhao Yao. Her face was pale, eyes red, constantly wiping away tears. She seemed more worried about Pei Huai than I was, his actual wife. She noticed me, looking and shrank back. As if I were some monster. Old Madame Pei noticed and quickly stood in front of her. Scared I'd hurt her in any way. This was treatment I never got in all my years of marriage. Maybe I have a savior complex. I actually had no plans to make things hard for her. Life is hard enough for women. Why make it harder for each other? After settling Pei Huai, dawn was breaking. I felt a slight cramping in my belly. Probably just exhaustion. I drank some medicine to stabilize the baby. I never expected old Lady Pei to be so impatient. She couldn't wait for Pei Huai to wake up and had to confront me. This is Hui's cousin. I planned to make her Pei Huai's concubine. I lowered my eyes, mindlessly gripping the book of songs. Seeing I didn't respond, she patiently continued. They've been lovers for years and even have a son together. When you had no children, Huai worried you'd overthink things. Now you have a child too. Your position as the main wife is secure. We can't let the eldest son of the house keep living outside. Yao can't stay without status forever. Only then did I understand why she couldn't wait. She knew Pei Huai would never allow Zhao Yao in once he woke up. So she forced me to agree first when Zhao Yao enters with her son later. Pei Huai would resent me. And she'd avoid mother-son conflict. 3 birds with one. What a clever plan. I set down the book of songs, my voice light. Fa. Old lady Pei frowned. Even Zhao Yao, who hadn't spoken, looked up at me. They didn't expect me to agree so easily. After all, I'd monopolized Pei Huai for so many years. I laughed softly, my eyes bright and clear. I agree. Choose a day for her to enter, old lady. 14. Pei Huai woke up half a month later. The day he woke up, I didn't go. Zhao Yao took Pei Mingnan to see him, but they were quickly thrown out. Zhai gleefully told me every detail. Miss, you should have seen the Lord's face when you saw her. He looked furious. He pushed her to the ground and told her to get out of the Pei family. The young master cried so hard he couldn't breathe, but the Lord just yelled louder, demanding you come over. Before she could finish, someone suddenly burst in. It was Pei Huai. He still had bandages on, blood seeping through. But he didn't care, pulling me into his arms. Miao miao. He called my name over and over. Yet mindful of my pregnancy, his hands were careful. I didn't struggle. I said softly, Pei Hua, you're trembling. What are you afraid of? My shoulder grew warm. He was crying silently. His voice was hoarse. I'm afraid you'll leave. I'm terrified. I patted his head gently, like soothing a child. Don't be afraid. I won't leave. I'm carrying your child. He froze, then looked up with surprise and joy. Forever. I don't lie. So I just smiled and said nothing. His eyes instantly dimmed, his hands trembling, as they gripped my shoulders. Niao Niao, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you. I was foolish. You're not foolish. You're very clever. I looked at him with a gentle smile. You knew I'd be hurt knowing about Zhao Yao, so you kept hiding it from me. His face changed. Niao Niao, I placed my finger on his lips. All these years, you've been even better to me out of guilt. You made me love you more and feel guilty for not getting pregnant. While I drank bitter medicine and got needles until my arms were bruised. Were you laughing at my foolishness when you were with her? You hid it for over 3 years without a single slip. See how clever you are. He tried to hold me tighter. I didn't dodge. This time he held me very tight, like he wanted to merge me into his body. His breath against my ear, he kept saying sorry. But I smelled out Zhao Yao's sweet fragrance on him. In that moment, I clearly understood. Even though Pei Huai and I were so close, our hearts had long since changed. Wasn't himself anymore. Wasn't myself anymore. There was no more us in this world. I leaned against his shoulder, my voice light but firm. No need to apologize. This is the path I chose. I loved the wrong person, trusted the wrong person. I'm the most foolish, confused person in the world. I give up. Pei Huai. Let's divorce. 15. That day, Pei Huai fled in panic. But what good was running? The facts were set. I stayed in my courtyard, only walking a few steps in the garden occasionally. This day I suddenly heard festive music from the main courtyard. Then I remembered. Today Pei Huai hadn't secretly come to see me. Zhao Yao was entering the family today. At first, Pei Huai naturally refused. Even old lady Pei's repeated threats of suicide were useless. But one night Zhao Yao actually tried to hang herself. By the time they saved her, she was barely alive. Pei Mingnan knelt outside Pei Huai's study and wouldn't get up. Pei Huai was hard-hearted toward everyone. But he was soft when it came to the child Pei Mingnan. So he compromised. I wasn't surprised by his choice. He didn't invite me to today's wedding. Even if he had, I wouldn't have gone. I didn't want to see him, much less receive Zhao Yao's concubine ceremony. But I never expected Zhao Yao to come to me herself. Madam, I'm 4 months pregnant. Old lady says once I give birth, she'll raise me to equal wife status. She wore gold and silver, her eyes smug. Gone was her previous timid obedience. This was probably her true face. Of course, a woman who could seduce. How could she really be an innocent little lamb? I looked at her and didn't respond. She continued asking, what do you think, madam? This is Pei family business. Go ask Pei Huai. My tone was flat as I sipped my tea. Unless Pei Huai refused, and that's why you came to me. This seemed to pierce through her fake smugness. Her face twisted slightly. What did you tell the Lord? He married me. Even with my pregnancy, he shows no joy. Are you scheming behind the scenes? Shen Yao, you think keeping his body means you can keep his heart. Let me tell you, the Lord. Before she finished, I slapped her across the face. She was stunned. You hit me. At that moment, Pei Huai slowly walked in. Zhou Yao quickly hid her anger, her eyes reddening. She threw herself at him tearfully. My lord, I don't know how I offended madam to make her hit me. But Pei Huai didn't even glance at her, staring at me intently. If she hits you, take it. You deserve it. She froze, then lowered her head. Yes. I gazed at Pei Huai across Zhao Yao. But I felt no flutter, only complete disappointment. 16. After that day, I noticed Pei Huai was ordinary toward Zhao Yao, even cold. But I couldn't tell if he was acting again. I was too tired to think about these things. Seeing my daily listlessness, she coaxed me to walk farther. Soon, we reached the pond. Suddenly, Pei Mingnan rushed in front of me. I was startled and nearly fell. Seeing Zhu steady me, Pei Mingnan looked disappointed but bared his teeth. He said hatefully, "Bad woman. You bully my mother and steal my father. The baby in your belly will die a horrible death." Those words exploded like a bomb in my head. No one dares curse a child in front of its mother. Blood rushed to my head. I lost all reason. I just wanted this person dead. Niao Niao, what are you doing? Only when Pei Huai yanked me away did I come to my senses. Pei Mingnan's neck bore finger marks, turning purple. I had done that. What? I trembled all over, looking at Pei Huai with panic. Pei Huai, he cursed my child. Pei Mingnan lay in Pei Huai's arms, sobbing softly. Daddy, I didn't. I just talked to madam and she tried to strangle me. I'm so scared. Saying this, he coughed violently, his voice hoarse and pitiful. Pei Huai patted his back tenderly, then looked at me with complete disappointment. Niao Niao, I know you're angry with me, but how could you try to kill a child? When did you become so cruel? The sun blazed overhead, but I felt only cold. A chill from my heart spread through my entire body. You don't believe me, Pei Huai, you don't believe me. Pei Huai turned away, his voice ice cold. I did keep my promise of one life, one love. I only cherished you, but I'm 25 now. You couldn't get pregnant, and I'm the heir. I need children to reassure the family. Why can't you understand me? Pei Huai, how long have you kept these thoughts to yourself? I smiled bitterly. I had no idea you thought this way about me. So that's how it is. It was all my wishful thinking. I misunderstood everything, misjudged everyone. I walked back trembling. Behind me, Pei Huai probably realized something was wrong and tried to catch up. Niao Niao, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing in my panic. But the next second, Zhao Yao called out to him. My lord, please check on him quickly. He looked at me, then at Pei Mingnan. Finally he stopped and picked up Pei Mingnan. 17. After that day, I never left my room again. I trapped myself inside, reading the book of songs over and over, torturing my heart repeatedly, until every last bit of love for Pei Huai vanished. I asked unwillingly, System, there's really no way to take the child. The system's voice was ice cold, restating, he belongs to this world, he can't be taken or removed. Fun. This was why I hadn't completely broken with Pei Huai yet. I would leave, but my child would stay here. He'd face everything that came next alone. What I had to do was arrange his whole life before leaving. I wrote a letter to my sister, asking her to take the child to the palace after I left. I didn't trust Pei Huai, I only trusted my sister. She was always smart and bold. The child could learn much from her. Then, there was Pei Huai. I gave Jai both the red pouch I'd found and the new one I'd made. My pouch had a lone mandarin duck embroidered on it, plus my nickname. Inside was a simple letter I'd written to Pei Huai. But it was enough. I arranged everything and told Ji. After I died, she must personally give it to Pei Huai. Ji cried her heart out, hugging my legs and just nodding. I stroked her head gently. Silly girl, why cry? Your miss is going to live the good life. You should be happy. She looked up at me, eyes bright. Miss suffered this life. The next one should be better. I paused. Did I suffer this life? It seemed I hadn't. I traveled here and was pampered despite daily fears. As a child, parents and siblings sheltered me. After marriage, Pei Huai sheltered me. I fell in love with him, depended on him, truly becoming a pampered ancient lady. But I knew better than anyone. I wasn't. I had a head full of ideas. I could brew wine and practice swordsmanship. I could design prettier hairpins and more beautiful dresses. But I dared not show any of it. I was a noble family's daughter. I didn't represent myself but the Shen family. My every move represented my family's honor and dignity. So I did nothing. Sometimes I wished I'd really been born in this era. Then when Pei Huai took concubines, I'd accept the proper wife's tolerance and magnanimity. But I wasn't, and I couldn't share a husband with other women. I only wanted one life, one love. He could do it at first, so I stayed and loved him. Now he couldn't, so I'd leave. But my departure couldn't be silent. I wanted to give Pei Huai a gift. A bloody gift ending with my death. I believed he'd never forget it. 18. I saw Pei Huai again when I was 8 months pregnant. For months, I'd refused to see him. I knew he watched me from afar daily, but I ignored him. But this day, I walked up to him first. He was overjoyed, talking endlessly. I listened quietly, rarely responding. Finally he said he was going to war, returning in about a month. I looked up and asked softly, can you make it back for my delivery? He nodded without hesitation. Yes, I'll definitely be back. I smiled slightly. He was dazzled, stepping forward to hold my hand. My voice broke a little. Now Niao, I know I was wrong. But I really love you. From now on, let's make it work. I'll be devoted only to you. I looked at him for a long time. When he got nervous and tried to change the subject, I nodded, okay. His face lit up. He gently touched my belly. He kept looking at me, like he wanted to memorize my face. When the soldiers came to get him, he left reluctantly. I watched him go, then suddenly called out to him, Pei Lang, come back soon. My smile was so tender in that moment. Like when I first married him, so innocent. In an instant, his eyes welled up and he nodded hard. Na Niao, wait for me. But Pei Huai didn't know that would be the last time he'd see Niao Niao. He fought on the battlefield, driving the enemy back. People called him the war god, but he often stared at the pouch, lost in thought. Na Niao, wait for me. He kissed it gently, his eyes full of longing, as if Shen Niao were right there. Suddenly, someone burst into his tent, holding a letter, hands shaking badly. Your wife had complications during childbirth. The young master is safe, but your wife. Pei Huai's face went pale, his voice trembling. How dare you curse Niao Niao, I'll kill you. He raised his sword to strike, but the soldier just kept bowing. His forehead bled, but he didn't change his story. Your wife is really in critical condition, my lord. Pei Huai's sword clattered to the ground. A loud crash. Niao Niao. He cried out in anguish and ran out like a madman. 3 days and 3 nights, 6 horses died from exhaustion. Finally, he reached the capital manor. But it was too late. The manor was draped in white cloth. White lanterns everywhere stung his eyes. He refused to believe it. He wouldn't believe Niao Niao had left him. Niao Niao, Niao Niao. He desperately shouted his beloved's name, hoping a pretty woman in pink would come out smiling to greet him. Pei Lang, what took you so long? But he waited and waited. Niao Niao never came out. She must still be mad at him. That's okay, he'd go find her. That when he came back, she wouldn't be angry anymore. They'd have a good life together. He knew he was wrong. He'd have all the time in the world to make it up to Niao Niao. Pei Huai walked into the main room and saw Niao Niao lying on the bed. Niao Niao, I'm back. He walked to the bed happily, reaching for her hand. It was ice cold. His expression froze. He couldn't fool himself anymore. Niao Niao was really dead. He felt like his heart had been ripped out alive, leaving only a bloody hole. Niao Niao, please don't be mad. I'm here with you now. I know I was wrong. You're the kindest, most beautiful woman in the world. How could I call you cruel? Hit me if you want. His throat tasted metallic. He coughed up blood. It splattered on Niao Niao. The blood was warm, but it couldn't warm Niao Niao. My lord, please accept this. Your wife is gone. Zhao Yao rushed forward, crying her eyes out. Before she could finish, Pei Huai kicked her in the chest. She saw black from the pain. He grabbed her by the chin. She's dead. Are you happy now? Think you can take her place? His eyes were cold, blood on his lips, like the king of hell. Zhao Yao went white with fear. She could only shake her head. I would never think such a thing. Get out. He roared, glaring at everyone. Everyone get out. Mingnan quickly helped up the trembling Zhao Yao, and they fled. After that day, Pei Huai didn't eat, drink, or sleep. He stayed by Shen Niao's ice coffin. The old lady tried to talk to him. Pei Mingnan tried too. Nothing worked. He even grabbed a knife and hurt them both. This is what you owe Niao Niao. What you owe her. Watching them run away. He looked insane, laughing at the sky. Then he collapsed on the ice coffin, looking at Niao Niao inside. Tears suddenly fell. Memories flooded back. Niao Niao looked at him with such a gentle smile, her eyes so soft, like it was back at the beginning. From now on, let's have a good life. Pei Lang, come back soon. They were so close. Just a little more and they could have been together forever. Why would heaven punish him like this? If anyone deserved punishment, it was him, his betrayal, his lies, his deceit. Why did they have to take Niao Niao's life? Niao Niao, I'm so sorry. Please come back. His voice was hoarse and broken, like he might cough up blood any second. But it was too late. Everything was too late. No one would care about his wounds anymore. He'd tease her playfully. She'd blush and scold him for being a scoundrel. No one would keep the lights on for him at night. He had no home. 6 years into their marriage, Pei Huai had no home anymore. The lady's coffin hadn't been buried. The court was buzzing with gossip, but no one dared approach the deranged Pei Huai. Finally, the empress sent someone with a message for Pei. Won't you even let Niao Niao rest in peace? Pei Hao's frozen eyes moved. 2 tears fell. That night, Shen Niao's maid Zhi came to Pei Huai with 2 pouches. Zhi's eyes were cold. One was found by my lady in a tree at the jewelry pavilion. The other she embroidered before she died. The jewelry. Pei Huai froze, then realized something. His face went deadly pale. Niao Niao. Zhi's tears streamed down, but she spoke through gritted teeth. Yes, my lady knew long ago you had a mistress. Your dear stepmother sent someone with the name. My lady knew everything, but she thought of your relationship. She said nothing, not one word. She couldn't say another word. She turned and left. Pei Huai looked at the 2 pouches. He tore open the red one. A note fell out. I only wish you well. May we last forever. A love token. This was his handwriting. But he'd never written anything like this. But even if it was fake, so what? The betrayal was real. The deception was real. His hands shook as he opened the other pouch. Another note inside. This life has been in vain, one mistake led to another. You and I couldn't escape this bitter end. A bitter end. Pei Huai, from start to finish, the only one who hurt me was you. I'm the biggest fool in the world. You didn't trust me, So that's what you thought. Niao Niao's desperate, empty tears fell on his heart, too late. Each one so heavy. In that moment, massive regret crashed over him, wrapping him tight. He couldn't fight it, couldn't escape, only suffering through pain and regret again and again. Until death. The next day the coffin was buried. Pai held the coffin in front of everyone, crying and laughing. Everyone there understood. Pai had completely lost him. Because of his wife's death, the fearless war god went mad. Empress Shen at the palace took in her young nephew, granting the infant Pei Huai a noble title, ending Zhao Yao and her son's hopes. When Pei Huai was lucid, he wrote divorce papers and cast out Zhao Yao. Pei Mingmen knelt and begged, but Pei Huai slashed him with a sword. His eyes were bloodshot. No one could stop him. Pei Mingmen never dared appear before him again. The manor emptied. Lady Pei took Zhao Yao and her mother back to a remote hometown, too afraid to show their faces. Their lives were probably ruined. The once grand manor fell into decay. Only one maid, Zhi, refused to leave. When people asked, her eyes gleamed with menace. I want to watch him die. When he's dead, I'll leave. She hated Pei Huai with every fiber of her being. 6 months after Shen You's death, Zhi went to clean the main room as usual. Her lady was gone, but her things were still there. She couldn't let them gather dust. But under the willow tree, she saw a figure slumped at the stone table. She walked closer. It was Pei Huai. If you want to drink, go somewhere else, don't disturb my lady here. But halfway through, she noticed something. Only she was breathing. She froze, then reached for Pei Huai's nose. No breath. He was dead. Pei Huai was finally dead. She didn't feel afraid, she felt overjoyed. The man who made her lady miserable was finally dead. Her daily poisoning hadn't been for nothing. Even when he slept, she burned incense so he couldn't find peace even in dreams. She wanted Pei Huai to live in terror every moment, so her lady's love for him wouldn't be wasted. She laughed at the sky, wiping away tears. For a moment, she thought she saw her young lady. Her face had baby fat. She wore strange new clothes. Her smile was bright as sunshine, her voice sweet and young. Zhi, I'm happy now. You should go live your own life. Be happy every day. Okay? My lady, I wish you joy and peace forever and always.